All right, good evening. Welcome back, everyone. So we're on season 2, episode 7, and we're still moving forward. Remember last time the big comeback was Mary, who had gone away and then was brought back by Matthew and Peter. We see the developing relationship between Matthew and Peter. Peter was most definitely the biggest attractor when it came to Matthew. If you remember way back when they started going, Peter had no love lost for Matthew at all, a traitor to his own people and worthless and everything else. So interesting, Jesus in this has been putting Matthew together with Peter. So we're going to keep going with that, but we also notice that there's a lot of activity with the Romans. Remember, they put up that parchment searching for Jesus of Nazareth. Here's a storyline that I don't think anybody's really thought about. There were a lot of there were a lot of Messiah people. Monty Python does a great job of making light of this in the life of Brian. The life of Brian. At one point, if I remember correctly, he falls out of a window and lands on top of a guy in the square on a soapbox. And since he's now standing on the soapbox with all these people standing around who just haven't noticed that he knocked the other guy off the box, they want him to preach, and so he just starts preaching. And of course, if you know Life of Brian, he does a really great job, right? The problem isn't with the preacher preaching the really good word, which was Brian. It's with the people that are listening are idiots, right? So there's a lot of this happening in first century. There's a lot of charlatans coming along. It's the other way around. You've got a lot of men that are coming to be messiahs and to lead the people and to whatever they're doing it for. So Rome is on top of all of this, especially in Galilee. This is a backwater area. It's a trouble area. It's one of the hotbed areas of the Roman Empire, believe it or not. Nobody wanted to go there, be sent there. It's an inhospitable place, and the people are troublesome, and there's always something brewing. So Rome is always aware of when you've got these guys preaching, and if they stay just in the market on their soapbox, who cares? They mark them off. But if they start to get a gathering like John the Baptist, Rome will take notice of this. And remember who's in charge. These are all propped up people. Herod is a propped up person. These are all little toadies of Rome. They don't have any real power. But what Rome would do is Rome would come to them and say, we want you to get involved with this guy or that guy. And this is one of the things that happened with John the Baptist. It wasn't just that John was going after Herod for his unsavory familial behavior, but no doubt that Herod had gotten the word that Rome would not mind something bad happening, or that John get taken off the board. So Rome is involved in these things, and we don't think, we probably never thought about this before. Did Rome have any interaction with Jesus before Pilate got taken to Pilate? There's nothing in the gospel about it. But to think that Rome didn't interact at some level with Jesus prior to this is maybe naive of us. Rome would have been involved a little bit to find out what was going on and who this guy was. So when they started that off several episodes back by putting up that parchment, they wanted to know where this guy is, because they heard that his little healing behavior had gone viral. Basically, he did a little healing behavior and he started gathering people, and then more and more and more. So I think they're going to carry this on as we move forward. And it also explains a lot about the life and the interaction between Jews and Gentiles and Rome. So keep an eye out for that as we watch this tonight. We're lucky it's a full episode night, so we'll get right to it. And if you are joining us, then go watch the whole episode, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, well, I like that ending. The time has come. All right, what did you see? What did you hear? This was a very sophisticated episode. A lot in it.
Things are heating up.
definitely heating up.
And
Jesus knows, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Alan.
Jesus knows what's coming. He's been telegraphing it, and now he's pretty much just saying it to his people. It's going to happen.
Yep.
The disciples are confused. They really don't fully understand what's going on.
Yeah. Glad we're not like that. There was a lot of interplay between the all the Shmuel. Shmuel's our buddy now, right?
Need that bumper sticker back.
Yeah. Anti-Shmuel. Will made me a wonderful bumper sticker when we had that encounter with him the first time, and I put it on my truck, said anti-Shmuel on it. And Sophie came home and said that she didn't understand what it meant because the name Shmuel is still used in the Hebrew faith. So she pointed out that it may be interpreted badly on the back of my truck, so I had to take it off. Yeah, I wasn't trying to make a political statement, much more like a religious one. So you see the wonderful interplay that they've got going on here. There's three distinct groups of people that we're looking at, and the interplay is between these three, happening in these three groups. The one group is the interplay between the authorities of the Roman Empire. So you've got you've got Quintus, right? You have the spy.
Atticus.
What's his name?
Atticus.
Atticus. So you got Quintus, you got Atticus, and you have, and I can't remember his name, the friend of Matthew.
Yeah.
We'll just call him the gold guy because he's got that beautiful gold thing around his. He's wearing a gold trash can.
Higher ranking Roman guy.
Right. So
Preemy?
is that it?
Might be.
Is that his name? Preemy?
Preemy? I don't know.
Preemy, yeah.
Well, there's the interplay between them. You can see that Quintus has a little bit of animosity toward Atticus, and Atticus has got some authority that is aside from Quintus's. So Quintus is the highest Roman official in this territory and can do anything he wants, kill or not kill anybody anytime for any reason, and discipline every Roman and Roman soldier in this area. But he can't do that with Atticus. Atticus is aside him. He's beside him in his authority and his position in the empire. So there's a little, that you saw that little interplay, that little rub, that little jabbing, insulting business between the two of them. Where Quintus is deciding on what to do with his people in his place, and Atticus has got this different opinion that it's not being followed through by Quintus. So they both have an idea. Both of them have some authority. One a little bit more absolute, but there's this difficult interplay between the two of them. Okay, that's one. The second one is the strange thing that's going on with Shmuel. I say strange because did you catch we all know what he's doing, right? He's fixated on Jesus. He's fixated on this blasphemy thing. But did you see what was happening? Did you pick up what was going on when he came into the synagogue in the little town? And he said it's customary for the rabbi, a returning rabbi who's coming back to his order, to be announced before he comes. And the other guy says, oh, it's okay, they'll love it. And he came in and everybody was like, oh, Shmuel. And then what did he do? He said, why did you come back? Anybody catch remember the next line?
It's not about a fish.
Yes. He said, why else would I come for the best sardines?
All right.
Right? Because we said this, you may remember way back when we were talking about fishing in the first or the second one, that the sardines in that area, this was their delicacy. This is the best place to get them. So, and what did the member of the order say back to him when he said that? He said, Nicodemus said a joke just like that when he came. So what this is pointing toward is a relationship that now is broken, but everybody knows about it. And that relationship is between Shmuel and Nicodemus. Remember that really tense, nasty attack by a Shmuel on Nicodemus in the portico way back when he said, you know, he did this when he took Jesus, healed the man on the mat. And he said, you didn't do anything about it. Shmuel was a student of Nicodemus. Nicodemus was Shmuel's rabbi. And what we have to know that we don't know as Christians is the relationship between a student and a rabbi is much more than like when we think about a student and a teacher. Student and teachers now, you can be a teacher and have absolutely no relationship or interaction with your students, and they could care less about you, and most of the time they don't, right? This is not how it is when you have a student, a rabbi and a teacher, a rabbi and a student rather. It is more like a family. It's very intimate. And the student wants to be just like the rabbi. This is why they've chosen the rabbi. Remember, we said that Jesus did this thing backwards? The students chose the rabbi. The rabbi didn't choose the students. The students would go from rabbi to rabbi to rabbi, and they would pick the rabbi. There was something that resonated in them with the rabbi. The rabbi did not come and pick a student. So when Jesus went out as the rabbi and picked the students, it was all backward. It was all weird. It was even more weird that when he picked them, they went, okay. There was something, you know, this is an affirmation. There was something unique about him, that the student who went rabbi shopping was looking for that special thing in the rabbi that matched the special thing in them that they already knew about. With Jesus, it was backwards. Jesus went to them and showed them something special in them that they didn't know about, that they didn't know they needed from him. So they came to him. So Shmuel became a rabbi under the tutelage of Nicodemus, and he wants to be just like Nicodemus. So when he comes back to the order where he came from, where he was a student of Nicodemus, it confirms that he is like Nicodemus. He makes a joke just like Nicodemus, the same joke. It's like you see the guy in the order going, oh, you sound just like the rabbi. And there was that awkward silence where there's like, oh, it's because they know that the relationship is broken. And that the student is now a rabbi and has an awkward sideways authority. An authority like Nicodemus, not like Nicodemus, can do things. It's a rub, it's a problem. And it's unlike the Romans, it's very sad when a student was broken away from their rabbi this way. It was very poignantly sad. Now the same, you have another group, which you have the tumult in the disciples, right? So now I said at the beginning we had this thing. Have you ever thought about Jesus being questioned by the Romans aside from Pilate?
No, never thought of that.
No. Or even friendly discussions with the Pharisees. And in the scriptures we have a lot of altercations between Pharisee and Jesus, don't we? They always try to trick him. They always try to catch him up in his words. But we're finding out that there are rabbis more than just Nicodemus who believe, who want to believe, who are looking out for him. That young student of the rabbi that came and said, I'm trying to help here. I don't know what to do, but I think there's something here that needs to be followed. So you have now this third relationship. You have Jesus with the disciples. He is the rabbi, and the disciples are those students. Jesus gets taken away, and what is wrong with Andrew?
Well, Simon was always the hothead.
There you go.
I've got to protect him at all costs, kind of guy.
Yeah. Simon seems to be mellowing and coming into himself, and Andrew is losing his mind. He's just
Andrew's not listening to Jesus like Simon is.
Yeah.
Jesus said, I'll be back. I think that's the person I believe saying that.
Yep. So what we can understand from, to give Andrew a little break, okay, remember that Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist. And he loved John the Baptist. He spent years with John the Baptist, right? So he knew, like Nathaniel's even closer, but he had enough exposure with John the Baptist to be in a relationship, at least a dependency on what is possible through him, what is possible in his message, what is possible in the kingdom of God being made manifest. And that's what he's looking for. That's what they're all looking for, right? That's what they all want. They want the Messiah to bring the kingdom of God and make it manifest in their presence. John the Baptist was going to do that. Now, John the Baptist has been completely neutered. He's taken away. He's thrown in prison. He can't witness. He can't make a difference. He's cut off. And as you might imagine, they are anticipating the worst death, torture, and never ever seeing him again. So Andrew is on this edge saying, this man that I've put my faith in, who I turned to, who was leading me, if not as a student like Nathaniel was, but still he was a devotee, obviously. This has been a tragic moment for him. You know what we missed in episode 5, I wanted to mention, I forgot. Remember in the scripture when Lazarus dies, Jesus wept? That's the only time we hear it. But in episode 5, when John the Baptist turned around and walked away over the edge there, Jesus was weeping because he knew what was coming. He knows what's going to happen. Very human.
Sorry.
No.
Why did he answer when the preacher asked him why, if he knew it was coming for him, why did he answer it in the way that he did?
Which part?
When the preacher asked him if he knows what's coming, like John the Baptist, like he said, sorry about your cousin. And Jesus said he knew it was coming. He knew what he was getting into. And then the preacher asked Jesus if he knew it was coming, but Jesus kind of answered it in a weird way.
What did he say?
I don't think I remember.
I thought that Jesus was going to say, or was maybe saying it non-verbally, do you
No,
know
he
what's
said-
coming? The
So
He
question,
said
like-
it's an
What
honor.
he was getting into, didn't he? Or
it's been
something
a
like
privilege to speak with you today. Then talking about that part.
Yeah, he just said that and left.
Yeah.
So he didn't really answer at all.
I like that. You know, this is Jesus in the gospel. Remember, he doesn't answer a lot of stuff. People say things to him and he doesn't answer. He says, let me ask you a question. And he comes back and asks a question. And in this conversation with Prater, it's so imperfect. It's so broken. Prater, Quintus is asking, Quintus is almost running both sides of the conversation. He's doing both of them. He is asking his own questions and he's anticipating his own answers. And it's this, you notice where Jesus just kind of sat there
Nodding his head, took it in.
and Quintus would talk and then he would talk some more and then he would talk some more and then he would talk some more and Jesus would say things like, sorry, I caused you trouble. That must have been hard. You know, the Quintus was really fermenting this whole conversation himself. This is probably why when he let him go, Atticus went,
You know,
what just happened here? You know, something weird just took place. It was almost like a fog of intention and response that all was from Quintus, almost nothing from Jesus at all. But I don't think, Will, that that's not an unfamiliar thing with him in the Gospels when people ask him questions and he asks them a question back. At least in those circumstances, he's seeking for that person to gain wisdom, to see that the depth of their question and clean it up. With Quintus, I don't think that's possible at this level. I think he's just letting Quintus pontificate. And Quintus isn't catching on at all because he's locked in his own loop of just talking and speaking and answering his own questions. He did it with Matthew as well. If you remember back, Matthew spent a lot of time like this. He would keep talking and talking, and Matthew would look down at his thing, and he'd look back up, and he'd look down at his thing and look back up, and there was a lot of Quintus and a lot less Matthew. So here we've got the disciples now all in a tizzy that Jesus has gone, and you've got Andrew who's losing his mind because he's still trying to follow, wants to see that everything is going to come to fruition. It's not working out. John the Baptist is going to die. He's in prison. All the plans that Andrew is hoping for, all of the finality to the coming of the Messiah and the change and the salvation of all the people is about to end. Jesus is going to go to jail just like John the Baptist and never be heard from again. So at this point, the faith that Andrew has is not really in Jesus. His devotion is to Jesus, but his faith is in the outcome of Jesus's ministry. He wants that. He wants the change to come. He wants the fruition to come. He's devoted to Jesus to make that happen. And without Jesus, that can't happen. And so he's losing his mind. So his devotion is beautiful. His faith is profound, but his vision is very small. It's myopic. He's not like the other disciples. Was it you, Cindy, that said they really don't know what they're doing when we started? All their vision is myopic. They're looking so small at who God is, at what God's doing in their midst, that they are cutting the wings off of the bird all the time. They're cutting the wings off of Jesus. They can't see beyond, this, what's going on in front of them. And when Jesus is out of the sight, unless you had that wonderful little talk around I like inside the little shed, right? With some words of calm. Just listen to what he says. Don't take what he says and feed the fire in you. Take what he says and let the words mean what they mean. This is, I've said before, this is in theological terms, it's called eisegetical processing, eisegetical learning, eisegetical thinking. Exegetical is exoskeleton out there. Iso is interior. So if this is marriage counseling, right? Someone says something, I don't want to go, and then you're supposed to echo that back. I heard you say that you don't want to go. That's it. Well, what you learn in counseling is that a lot of times they'll say, what I heard you say is that you're really afraid and your legs hurt and you don't want to go outside. Like, where did you get all that? Where did that come from? I never said any of that stuff. Well, that's because that's what I'm thinking. I think that the reason you don't want to go is because of these things. So I'm interjecting what I think into what you just said. This is the foundation of so many misunderstandings in marriages and families and politics and everything else. I overlay my wants and my desires on what you said. So this was a beautiful little interaction where you had some of the people, not Andrew, obviously Mary and Mary, saying, just let what he said be what he said. And if you are afraid, and if you are upset, and if you are excited, you have to live in that place of fear and let his words minister to you. Let his words bring you peace. Let that be the teaching and the learning you receive now. Of course, Andrew couldn't do that. He had to go, and thankfully Nathaniel went with him, right? It's like, I'll watch the puppy. I'm going. I'll take care of him. So you had this same power dynamic between the Roman between the rabbi Shmuel and Nicodemus and those who are there, and between the disciples and Jesus. The same thing. And I think what they're showing in this is that this is human. We have this dynamic which takes place in all of the different structures, and that Jesus is coming to blast that structure apart, to break open, not the structures is a construct of our process. He's come to break open our process, literally to say, just listen to me, right? This is God speaking. This is the Father speaking out of the cloud. This is my Son, the beloved. Listen to him. Don't lay over in your own thing into what he's saying. You just receive what he's saying and receive the blessing and the gift of that. This again, remember Jesus talking to the Pharisees, saying, I'm telling you this. And then he said, what do you think? And they say something. I said, you have not heard me. I've asked you one question and you cannot hear what I'm saying. You can't answer. So I'm not going to answer you either, because talking to you is like talking to a stone. You can't hear anything I'm saying. Everything I'm saying bounces off of you. You just feeding yourself with my stuff. All right, we're over. So we're so far over. So much. Sorry, there's so much packed into this with the interaction. Live with this for the next week. The three groups, the power, the structure, the weirdness, Quintus, and the missing of information. Quintus hearing what he wants to hear, right? Andrew overlaying what he wants to overlay. The Rabbi Shmuel not honoring his rabbi, not recognizing himself as being like his rabbi, but now corrupted in his process. All of these things are with us. And the only, yeah.
I was going to say, don't forget the Ethiopian woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is a subgroup maybe,
Yeah, she's outside of that, isn't she?
Yes.
Yes, and she's the disruptor as well.
Yeah.
She's the one that's saying, I can't not do this.
I have to. I mean, how can anybody keep quiet with this?
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. I would have forgotten all about her. There's another place when Jesus is talking very calmly on the beach where the Ethiopian woman should be brought into as a key part of what he says. He says, he's talking about the sermon and the parts people are going to play. And then he says this, he says, our whole ministry is going to move on this. He didn't say mine. He said our. The teaching that he's giving to the apostles, to the disciples, when they become apostles, is they are going to be the ones that are going to go out and keep this going. They're going to become like the Ethiopian woman already is. She is the evangelist right now. She is the one who is proclaiming the word. That it's a very small word in the way that that's come to her and that's being put out there, but that she is brave and that she is out there putting herself out there as this unique person in that culture and society, saying this is just the truth. I remember my region meeting. The truth. It's just the truth. It's not hard to say the truth. This is the truth. It may be hard for you to hear it, but this is the truth. We have a hard time in our life, in our culture and society, what is true. It's a lot easier when we get to the gospel. This is just the truth. So this woman, yes, what an inspirational woman she is with the leper that she's out there doing these things. So yeah, great. Thank you, Jay. Probably
Can I say one thing about Andrew?
Yeah.
I'm afraid I can relate to his behavior because, with the Jewish people, they needed a Messiah for their eternal life. And they've been waiting a while for a Messiah. And for him to think, well, no, this might not happen. Yeah. I feel like more of them should be freaking out than just Andrew, because it means their eternal life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody, we should never lose track of that for the witness of the gospel, that when Jesus was coming and the things he was saying, we didn't have a chance to go into the Son of Man thing yet, but that's going to come around again and again and again. It's out of Daniel. He's coming to these people that have been waiting for, thousands of years for him to come. And who he is and how he's going to do what he's done has been so corrupted and changed, and the anticipation is so weird now. They're anticipating something, but they don't exactly know what it is. They're just afraid of what it isn't. And that if they get so close to the candle and the candle goes out, and this has happened before. Remember I said the town was littered with little messiahs, guys coming like those priests, the rabbis, all praying at once all over the place, walking up and down. Remember again, Jesus saying, look at the guys praying on the street corners. They've received their reward, because they're not looking to God. They're looking to be out in the middle doing stuff. So yeah, we have to be sensitive to the fact that the people were afraid. And for Andrew, even worse, because he's so close to the flame and now thinking it's all going to go gone. He just hasn't reached that flowering yet that it seems Peter's beginning to get. Yeah. All right, guys, keep on keeping on.
Okay.
Have a wonderful, wonderful night. See some of you hopefully tomorrow night. And if not, then Sunday, look forward to that.
Maybe Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. That's right. Stew's on Saturday. I will not be there on Saturday at the Stew. I have a bike race.
Oh,
But
You can still make it if you want.
what?
You can still go if you want.
We will be at Parents Weekend for Sophie and the others,
Yep. Several
both
different.
things.
I think this is the second Stew in 20 something years I've missed. So I guess I got a pretty good track record. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful night. God bless you all. Be well, and I'll look for you again soon.
Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Good night.
night.
Bye, Mom.